All right, welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Let's just dive right into this because today we're looking at one of the absolute most monumental and frankly most challenging tasks in all of American history, rebuilding the nation right after the Civil War. This era, which we call Reconstruction, well, it wasn't just about hammering nails into broken bridges or rebuilding burned-down cities. It was about something way deeper than that. It was about fundamentally defining what it meant to be an American and figuring out how to rebuild a deeply, deeply divided society on the foundation of human dignity.
So, picture this. The cannons have finally, thankfully stopped firing. The treaties are signed, the Civil War is over. But is the fight for freedom actually won? I mean, that is the central conflict of this entire era. Because the harsh truth is, the end of the battlefield combat was literally just the beginning of a massive, messy, and incredibly difficult struggle for true justice and equality. Abolishing slavery was one thing, but actually establishing freedom, that was an entirely different battle.
Section 1. The fight after the war. Okay, so almost the exact second the guns fell silent, this intense ideological battle blew up. Not on a physical battlefield, but right inside the halls of government. On one side, we have President Andrew Johnson. Now, he favored a very quick reunion. His plan was extremely lenient. He basically wanted to restore the southern state governments incredibly fast, with very few strings attached regarding the formerly enslaved. But then look over at the other side. You have the radical Republicans in Congress. They looked at Johnson's super lenient plan and essentially said, absolutely not. They were demanding lasting change. They wanted totally new state constitutions and really strict, enforceable civil rights protections to ensure that formerly enslaved people were actually safe and actually free.
Just to make sure we've got this locked in for your homework, let's break down exactly who these lawmakers were. A radical Republican was a lawmaker in Congress who wanted to rebuild the South from the ground up on totally new foundations: freedom, citizenship, and voting rights. And, the how here is just as important as the what. They totally believed in using the full weight and power of the federal government to actively protect formerly enslaved people. They didn't just want some quick temporary fix. They wanted a permanent cure for the massive injustices of the past.
Section 3. The Rise of Black Codes.
Which brings us to a period of really intense agitation. You see, the southern states didn't exactly just quietly accept these new foundations of freedom. Actually, they fought back stubbornly against this vision of equality by passing what were known as Black Codes. These were local laws passed specifically to heavily restrict the movement, the work, and just the basic human rights of African Americans. Imagine that for a second. Imagine being told you're finally free, only to have your local government pass a law saying you literally can't travel freely, or you don't even have the right to choose your own job. Congress looked at this harsh reality and they were deeply alarmed. To them, these Black Codes were a total betrayal of everything the Civil War was just fought to achieve.
Section 2. A Call for Action.
So, facing this massive step backwards, Congress had a huge moral choice to make. Do we just stand by and watch this happen, or do we act? This wasn't just some abstract political puzzle. It was a profound moral imperative. And the HeroesMart series actually anchors this exact historical moment in a piece of scripture from Isaiah 1:17. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed. I want you to notice how active those words are. In this framing, justice isn't just, having a warm feeling or good intentions in your heart. It requires tangible, real-world action. The radical Republicans believed the government had a profound, active responsibility to step right in, defend the oppressed, and protect human dignity when the state governments flat out refused to do so.
I really want you to pause right here and chew on this reflection question for a second. How can governments and citizens actually work together to defend people whose rights are being denied? How do we go about rebuilding broken communities on a true foundation of truth and justice? That is the exact dilemma Congress was trying to solve in the 1860s, and let's be real, it's a question that remains incredibly relevant for us today.
Section 4. Congress pushes back.
Refusing to just stand by while those Black Codes stripped away basic freedoms, Congress decided, okay, we have to take bold, unprecedented federal action here. So they escalated their powers step by step to protect the vulnerable. It went like this. First, extending the Freedmen's Bureau. Second, passing the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And third, enacting the highly powerful Reconstruction Acts of 1867. Let's zoom in a little closer and see how this builds.
Step 1. The Freedmen's Bureau. Now, this wasn't just some dusty office in Washington shuffling papers. It was boots on the ground down in the South. The Bureau took very practical, hands-on steps. They provided essential food and medical aid, they physically built schools to provide education, and they offered vital legal help for formerly enslaved people. It was a super direct way to help rebuild communities and actually defend human dignity on a daily basis.
Then, step 2, the Civil Rights Act of 1866. This declared all people born in the United States to be citizens with equal rights under the law. Guys, I literally cannot overstate what a massive deal this was. It was the very first federal civil rights law in all of American history. It was specifically designed to directly challenge and overrule those oppressive black codes, and it perfectly set the stage for the 14th Amendment, which, as we know, would eventually change the United States Constitution forever.
Section 5, the Reconstruction Acts.
But here's the thing. Even with brand new federal laws on the books, Southern resistance fiercely continued. So Congress realized they had to go even further to actually enforce the law on the ground. The 1867 Reconstruction Acts demanded 3 key things. First, they established military districts. This empowered federal authorities to enforce the laws and physically protect voters at the polls. Second, they demanded new state constitutions, just to ensure civil rights were permanently guaranteed at the state level, not just by some federal decree. And finally, they made ratification of the 14th Amendment a mandatory condition before any state could be readmitted to Congress. This military oversight was basically the ultimate tool to prevent local leaders from undermining freedom during this incredibly fragile transition period.
Section 6, Education, Morality, and Peace.
Now, I want to tie all of this history back to a core philosophy that applies directly to you right now, today. This brings us to a foundational philosophy of the HeroesMart Academy's Godly Learner series: education without morality will hurt. Think about the lawmakers who were passing those oppressive black codes. They were highly educated men, right? They knew exactly how to write complex laws and run governments. But what is the point of being smart and supposedly educated if you just use those tools to continue making bad choices that hurt and oppress other people? Intelligence without a strong moral compass, it really only leads to deeper societal wounds.
But on the flip side, the curriculum points to this really profound promise in Romans 8, 6-7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. The lesson here is that when we engage with true morality, when we actively seek justice and defend the oppressed, exactly like the radical Republicans strove to do, we don't just help others, we actually find peace of mind for ourselves. True education, when it's combined with biblical morality, creates a society that is built on truth, not exploitation.
And that leaves us with this final, truly vital thought for the day. If education gives us the tools to build the future, how will you ensure your morality guides you to defend the oppressed? The radical Republicans used their power and their education to fight for justice in their time. You guys are gaining an amazing education right now. How are you going to use yours? Reflect on that as we wrap up today's explainer. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.